Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing fine. And guess what? We are going to continue our session on Unit 4 Communication, and today we're going to dive into mass media and society. And that is our last topic on Unit 4 Communication. So let's begin. Imagine mass media as the big megaphone that connects us to the vast world out there, from the cozy corners of our living rooms to the farthest reach of the globe. It's all about those tools and technology that help share stories, news, and even ads with a whole bunch of people at once. Think about the times you have scrolled through your social media feed while munching on your breakfast, or when you have caught up on the day's headlines through a news app on your phone. That's mass media in action, keeping you in the loop with what's happening around the world. It's like a giant conversation where everyone's invited, but instead of talking, we are sharing and consuming information through a mix of channels like TV shows, movies, those catchy ads that stick in your head, radio tunes, internet memes, glossy magazine, and the daily newspaper that lands with a thumb at your doorstep. So now let's talk about mass communication. Imagine you're at a huge concert and instead of singing, the lead vocalist decides to share the latest news update or teach you about a new product. That's kind of what mass communication is like. It's all about spreading information far and wide, reaching out to people who are spread out all over the place, whether it's the morning radio show, host telling you about the traffic jams to avoid, or a TV commercial introducing you to the newest smartphone, or a viral YouTube video that everyone is talking about. Mass communication brings us together in a shared experience, even if we are miles apart. And here's a fun example to tie it all together. Remember when everyone was talking about that one episode of a popular TV show? Take an example of Game of Thrones, or when a video of cat doing something hilarious went viral. That's mass media and mass communication, weaving their magic, bringing diverse topics and laughter into our lives, making us feel connected to a large story. It's amazing how a simple click or that watch or a read can make us part of the global conversation, sharing moments, and ideas with people we may never meet but feel close to through the stories we share. So next time you're catching up on your favorite TV series, scrolling through your news feed, or laughing at meme, remember you're a part of vast, vibrant tapestry of mass media and communication. Now, let me tell you about the history of mass media. So, first off, mass media is this cool concept that kicked off when Fox figured out they could share messages with a bunch of people all at once instead of one on one chats about the campfire. So, over time, brainy people have come up with all sorts of theories about how we communicate on a grand scale. For example, there is this old school idea called the hypodermic needle model. That kind of sounds scary, but it's okay. It basically suggested that media messages could influence the masses directly and powerfully, kind of like a magic spell. But then the internet came along and things got a lot more interactive with theories like computer mediated communication, where it's all about chatting, sharing, and connecting online in ways we never imagined. Now, let's break down the evolution of mass media into its greatest hits. Once upon a time, in a world without Netflix or Twitter, people got their information and entertainment through what? Print stuff. Think books, magazine, and newspaper that you can hold in your hands. This all started rolling through in the late 15th century when Gutenberg was like, let's print the Bible for everyone. So, this move was a game changer, making reading a group activity rather than a solo venture. Then there was recording came, and from those ancient gramophone records to the CDs and DVDs we now use as a coaster, right? Recorded sound and video kicked off in the late 19th century. Remember those mixtapes? Those were also part of this wave. Then the movie came, and lights, camera, action came about around 1900s, giving people a reason to munch on popcorn in dark rooms with a stranger. Fascinating, right? Then there was radio waves. Imagine it's 1910 and you're tuning into radio dramas instead of binge watching shows. Radio brought music, news and stories to everyone's living room. Then there was TV time in 1950s, and the television becomes the centerpiece of the living room. Suddenly you could see the news, not just hear it. And all news channels became kind of family. And the bonding rituals that you have with your personal news channel, right? Then there was internet, and all of us, like you and me, are the part of that internet community, right? 1990s it came, and when the internet started connecting people in ways that felt like sci-fi, right? It was the dawn of endless information, like also cat videos and eventually social media, then mobile phone. So by 2000, phones weren't just for calls, they were became smart pocket sized gateways to the internet, apps and texting. All these stuff started. So let's zoom in on some milestone that shaped how we share and consume media. So there is a timeline of the mass media, and let me tell you one by one. So way back in 1400, Fox in Europe were all about popular prints, kind of like medieval version of posters for your room. Gutenberg started that printing press in 1453, was like the first version of going viral, making books and pamphlet a kind of big deal. Then there was the first English newspaper in 1620, paved the way for your morning reads. Then fast forward to Alexander Graham Bell's first phone call in 1876, setting the stage for endless telemarketer calls, right? Then there was a radio, and it got tunable in 1916, so you could finally switch from the opera to jazz without much fuss, right? And then there was another big thing happened, that BBC started its broadcast gig in 1922, becoming a household name for news and entertainment. Then there was this guy, Philo Taylor Farnsworth, electronic television in 1927. Eventually led to the binge watching culture we know and love today. Right, then the audio cassette in 1963 was a kind of game changer for music lovers, making playlist kind of personal, and you have your own playlist because of that invention, right? Then there was one Vietnam War in 1965, was the first time war came into living rooms through TV, changing how people viewed conflict. Then there was that ARPANET in the 1970, was the geeky grandparent of today's internet. And there was this Pong in 1972, was the humble beginning of what video game era, leading to the console wars and esports that we have today, right? Then there was that Berners Lee's World Wide Web in 1991, was like opening a Pandora's box of information, connectivity, and yes, those cat video that you see today, it started long ago, that internet, 1991. And finally, Japan's first DVD player was came in 1996, meant we could watch Twister over and over without rewinding it. Right, so there you have it, a casual jaunt through the history of mass media, for the days of print to the digital age, and each step from records to radio, TV to internet has transformed how we connect, learn, and entertain ourselves. It's been a fascinating journey, and who knows what's next? Maybe hologram will become the new normal, or we'll get our news through brain implant, like what Musk is doing right now, right? So whatever it is, it's sure to be an adventure. It's going to be moving forward as time passes. So let me tell you about the traditional media. So the question only comes from these kind of thing, like traditional media, modern media, all these kind of publicity, advertise from these sections. Let's dive into that fascinating world of traditional media. So picture this: long before the internet, TV or radio, people were already hooked on what the original binge-worthy contents, like drama. Right, dramas aren't just a Netflix thing. They have been around since ancient times, captivating audience across a different culture. Imagine sitting under the stars watching live performance unfold, much like we do today, except without the thing. You must have heard about Sophocles, Euripides, all these people that were creating dramas for us. Right, now, how did Fox spread the word about anything important back in the day, that was through stories, of course, right? Legends, folklores, you must have heard about riddles, jokes, were the social media of the ancient times. So in India, for instance, they had nukkad or natak or street theater like a Nautanki, right, among others, to entertain and inform communities. So let me tell you about the first thing, which is legendary tales. Think of a legend in literature as that one friend who always has the most unbelievable stories about their friend or a place they have been. Except these stories have been told and retold through generations. Back in the day, legends often starred kind of saints and were a mix of awe, reverence, and dash of mystery. Right, you must have heard about that Akbar, Birbal kind of stories and all those old legendary tales we had. Then we have folklore. This is all about a community vibes, its beliefs, its customs, and stories passed down through generation like a family heirloom. It's the original group chat minus the internet. So you can just whatever the folklore you remember from your childhood, you can just write in the comment box, and we'll talk about that too. Anyway, riddles and jokes was another kind of thing at that time. Ever tried to solve a riddle? They're like the ancient world's brain teaser, statements or questions hiding a secret meaning or answer. Remember that Sphinx joke from the Oedipus Rex, right? So jokes, well, also they have always been around to crack everyone up, proving that laughter truly is timeless. Then we had drama and theater. Think of drama as the ultimate live performance, where every movement and word has been planned out to bring a story to life right before your eyes. Who will forget Hamlet's monologue, right? And who will forget Shakespeare's masterpieces? So it's storytelling at its most dynamic, a kind of art that makes you feel like you're part of the tale being told. Then we have street theater that we usually know in India as nukkad or natak, right? So imagine walking down the street and stumbling upon a live play. No tickets, no seats, just raw, powerful storytelling happening right there on the sidewalk. So that's street theater for you, an open air performance that's as spontaneous as it's captivating. Then we had Nautanki, and this form of folk theater is a big deal in South Asia, right? Especially in northern India. Nautanki performances are known for their vibrant music, dramatic storytelling, and the way they bring a communities together under the starlit sky. Then puppetry, who will forget that, right? So, last but not least, puppetry takes storytelling to a whole new level. So, picture this inanimated object that often look like mini humans or animals brought to life by who puppeteer, and it's mesmerizing art for that can make you forget these characters aren't actually real, right? So there you have it, a whirlwind tour of traditional media and its rich diverse form. And these practices show how storytelling has always been at the heart of human connection, a way to entertain, educate, and bring people together long before technology changed the game. And whether through the timeless tales of folklore or the communal experience of street theater. So these traditions remind us that at the end of the day, we are all just stories in the making. Now, let me tell you about the first one, print media and electronic media. What are these actually? So, by the name, you have the idea that what we are gonna talk about. So, let's take a stroll through the fascinating world of media. So, imagine we are time traveling back in China in 1041 or 1041, where some genius came up with the idea of movable clay type. Fast forward a few hundred years and we hit what, 1453, when Gutenberg was making waves with his printing press, churning out books with movable types. This was revolutionary. By 1620, England was getting its first taste of the daily news through newspapers, a concept that started gaining traction, around 1905. And but it wasn't until 19th century that media truly became what a mass affair, reaching audiences far, far and wide. And then print media, my friend, is like the grandparent of all media forms. It's been around telling stories, sharing news, and entertaining us through newspapers, magazine, and all sorts of printed goodies, right? Speaking of magazine, picture them as these cool periodical collections of article and photos that cater to all sorts of interests, from the latest in fashion to the ins and outs of the business out world, right? So you must have seen like a Spectator we had, and Gentleman magazine. All these stuff started back in that 1600s, right? So now newspaper have a special place in the history of print media. Printed on the cheap yet trusty newsprint, they have been our daily dose of what's happening around the globe, sprinkled with ads and covering everything under the sun. The very first one popped up, I told you the date right, 1605, and we haven't looked back since then. And now there are so many, and these days also, electronic media we have. Let's not forget about outdoor media. It's all around us, literally, from those big billboards on the highway to the ads flying behind planes at the beach. Outdoor media knows how to grab our attention. Even seen a blimp with a logo or a catchy phrase written in the sky sometime, right? So that's outdoor media in action. Books are another cornerstone of media, whether it's a paperback novel or an ebook on your tablet. Books are these magical portal to the other world, packed with the stories or information, all neatly bound together. Then came the era of broadcasting, a game changer that brought us, radio and TV. And this was the first time we could sit back and have information, music, and stories flow into our home electronically. And it was a big deal, requiring all sorts of regulations like who gets the broadcast, what, and where. So audio recording changed the music scene forever. Remember mixtapes or that burning CDs with your favorite tunes? That's the power of audio recording and reproduction, allowing us to enjoy music anytime, anywhere. And films, or movie as we love to call them, have been our go-to for entertainment and enlightenment, from heartwarming stories to eye-opening documentary we see today. It's all about motion pictures capturing life in its many shades. And then there is this internet, and that's where we are, right? It's like the colossal, ever expanding universe of information and interaction. Blogs, podcast, streaming services, you name it, the internet's got it. It's changed how we learn, communicate, and entertain ourselves. So teachers can email the entire class, students can download assignments, and there is even online discussion boards for classroom chats. And lastly, let's talk about video games. Once just a fun pastime, they have evolved into a massive media platform. Think about the excitement of playing on your PlayStation or Xbox, diving into virtual worlds and connecting with players across the globe. So, from the ancient presses to the digital world, media has come a long way, touching every aspect of our lives, shaping how we see the world and connecting us in ways we never imagined. Now, let me tell you about the old, new, and social media. So, old media, by the word you can understand, it's about how we get our daily dose of news, entertainment, and that cat videos your aunt shared on Facebook. So, there is this called old media, which is basically the originals of getting information out there. So, think newspapers that leave ink on your fingers, those giant movie studio that brought us classic movies like Jurassic Park, and music studios where legends like the Beatles recorded billboards you pass on the highway, radio shows that keep you company during long drives, and TV, the box that brought the whole family together for prime time. So old media was all about sending messages in one direction, the fox making the content, sent it out, and we just soaked it up, usually without a peep back. It's like getting a letter in the mail, you read it, and but you can't instantly reply, right? So that is your old media. And what is new media? Well, it is like the tool tech savvy kid on the block. This is all the stuff that needs computers and the internet to work. We are talking about those mesmerizing 3D animation in movies, video games that keep you up way past your bedtime, so website that you can get lost in for hours, and virtual worlds where you can be a knight, an alien, or even a piece of toast. It's interactive, meaning it's more like a two-way street. You can click, swipe, comment, react, and even create your own stuff. That is our new media. Then when we talk about social media, so what is that? The virtual hangout spot where everyone shares, likes, and posts, or tweets about what's going on in their lives. It's like the town square of the internet, whether it's Facebook or Meta these days, right? And TikTok, where you can watch people dance, do challenges, or share life hacks. Instagram for your daily dose of food pics and sunsets, and Twitter for those quick thoughts and heated debates, or YouTube where you can learn how to fix your sink or do makeup or just watch those cat videos. So social media is all about connecting with others, sharing bits of your life, and seeing what everyone else is up to, and all with a few taps on your screen. The magic of social media lies in its foundation of user generated content. That means it's not just big companies talking at you, it's your friend sharing a vacation photo, your cousin posting about a new restaurant, or even you commenting on news article. It's interactive, dynamic, and always new, which makes scrolling through your feed a unique adventure every time. So imagine you're at a concert and you snap a photo of the band. In the old media days, what you might show it to a few friends or stick it to your photo album. But with social media, you can share that moment with the world in seconds, sparking conversation, connecting with fellow fans, and maybe even getting a like from that band itself. That's the power of new media and social media. They turn moments into connections, and everyone gets to be part of the story. So whether you're a die-hard fan of the classics or you're all about the latest tech, there is no denying that the way we consume media has evolved in some pretty amazing ways. From ink and paper to clicks and swipes, the world of media keeps spinning, and we are all along for the ride, right? Now let me tell you about the purpose and the function of mass media. So mass media, as I told you, is like the big megaphone of our society, right? It's everywhere, from the new podcast you listen to, the billboard you see on your way to work, or to the TV shows you binge watch on weekends. Let's dive into what it does and how it weaves into our lives in more ways than we might realize. And you might be wondering that why it's important, because these all know advocacy, advertisement, and publicity, marketing, propaganda, public relations, they have asked question based on that. So that's why we need to know what is the purpose and function of mass media. Let me tell you about the advocacy, which is a big one. Think of it as using the media's megaphone to shout about something important, whether it's getting the word out about a new eco-friendly business or pushing for changes in the laws to make our communities better. For example, remember when everyone was talking about using less plastic to save the ocean? That's media advocacy in action. It's not just about making noise, it's about making change. Then we have advertising. So this one is pretty straightforward, and it has been from since you just name the date. It was always there. So as I told you, this one is pretty straightforward. It's something we see all the time, whether it's an ad popping up in your Instagram feed for those sneakers, right? Or you can't stop thinking about, or a catchy jingle on the radio for your local pizza place. So advertising is all about drawing your attention to product or services. It's the reason you suddenly think you need that new phone, even though your old one works just fine. Right, so these are the advertisement. Then we have publicity, which is another key function. It's all about getting the word out there. When your favorite band drops a new album and you see it everywhere on social media, in interviews, or sometime in billboards, that's publicity at work. It's not just about selling something, it's about creating a buzz, and sometimes it's not even planned, right? Think about those viral internet moments, like a local dinner getting famous overnight because a celebrity tweeted about their pancakes, right? Or that dosas, or all this stuff. So marketing, another important things, which is a broader view. It's the whole process of bringing a product or service to the marketplace and making sure the right people know about it. It's why you see commercials for family cars during Saturday morning cartoons, or why there are coffee ads plastered across the subway station. So, marketing aims to connect with specific groups of people where they're most likely to see and engage with these messages. Then we have propaganda, and which is a bit more complex. It's about promoting a specific point of view, often by presenting information in a biased or one sided way. It's not just for politics, it's used in advertising too. Remember those ads that make you feel patriotic for buying a certain brand or beer? That's tapping into the power of propaganda, using emotions to influence your views and action. We see in our election all the time, right? And then we have public relation. It's like the cooler behind the scene cousin of publicity. It's all about maintaining a good image. When a company donates to charity or celebrity makes a public apology, that's actually PR at work. It's controlled and calculated, aiming to shape how we see them, right? So unlike publicity, which can spiral out of anyone's control. Remember that viral dinner? So the PR tries to steer the ship, keeping everyone's reputation shiny and bright. Then we have enrichment and education. So think about when you were a kid and you first saw a documentary on dinosaurs or space. Your eyes were probably glued to the screen, right? Soaking up all the cool knowledge. Mass media is awesome at breaking down complex stuff into bite sized, easy to digest pieces. It's like having a teacher who can use vivid stories, colorful pictures, and catchy songs to explain things. Remember watching the Magic School Bus? It wasn't just fun, you actually learned a lot, right? So that's mass media turning learning into an adventure, sparking curiosity and making you ask, what if moon falls on earth? Right? So in then we have like entertainment. Now let's talk about some fun here. Since forever people have been entertained by these stories, right? Music and sports. Fast forward to the late 20th century and boom, video and computer games enter the scene. Imagine the jump from listening to the radio dramas to being able to control characters in a game or binge watch a series. It's a whole new world of entertainment where you're not just observing, you're a part of the action. Then we have journalism. So, journalism is like the neighborhood gossip but on a global scale, and let's hope a lot more accurate, right? So, it's all about telling us what's happening around the world, from the latest scientific breakthrough to the scoop on political debate. Back in the day, newspaper and TV news were the go-to sources. Now we have got a buffet of options online with so many chefs in the kitchen. It's tricky to know which dish to trust, right? So the core idea though is keeping us informed and connected to the world's heartbeat. Then we have public service announcement. Think of these PSAs as those short but sweet reminders of warning that pop up during your TV show or on the radio, like don't text and drive or wash your hands. They are quick, to the point, and sometimes a bit cheesy, but they're all about keeping us safe and informed about important stuff. Next, we have surveillance. This is not the same like the big brother is watching, right? It's completely different kind of surveillance. It's more about journalists and news outlets keeping an eye on event and dishing out the latest happening almost in real time. So when something big goes down, they're on it, ensuring we get the memo. It's like having a friend who always had the latest gossip before it's even gossip. Now we have gatekeeping, which is important because also in exam they have asked question based on that. Imagine if your brain had to process every single piece of information out there, overload, right? So gatekeeping is like having a bouncer at the club of your mind, so deciding what news gets in and what stays out. So media outlet filters through the noise to bring us the stories they think matter most. It's a big responsibility considering they shape our view of the world. Then we have influence on democracy. So the media is often called the fourth estate, standing alongside the big three: the legislature, executive, and judiciary. So it's got a kind of VIP pass to influence public opinion and politics, shining a spotlight on issues that might otherwise go unnoticed. It's like being at a party where the media can turn the volume up at on certain conversation, making sure important topics get heard over the noise. Then we have cultural transmission. So mass media is like the belt of the culture, delivering bits and pieces of cultural identity right to our doorstep. Through movies, music, TV shows, and more, we get a taste of different ways of life, beliefs, and tradition. It's how sushi became a global favorite, or why everyone suddenly knows the dance to a viral song. Then we have social influence. Ever noticed how something becomes a trend after you see it everywhere on social media? That's the media social influence at work. It's like when one person starts wearing new kind of thing, and before you know it, we are all living our best 80s life. Media introduce new norms and ideas, and when we see others embracing them, it's easier for us to jump on board too. So there you have it, a casual stroll through the world of mass media, touching on everything from how it educates and entertains us. So it's pivotal role in democracy and culture. It's powerful tool that shapes our understandings, beliefs, and even our action. Just goes to show, whether it's learning something new or staying informed or just having a good time, mass media has got something for every single person. Now, let me tell you about the characteristics of mass media. John Thompson, a big brain at Cambridge University, tells us that mass media isn't just about the gadgets and platform we use to catch up on the news or binge watch our favorite shows. It's also about the huge system behind those, screens that makes it all happen. Imagine the whole process, filming a movie to streaming it on your phone. It's a lot. Now think about how every meme, news alert, or Netflix series is kind of like a product on a shelf waiting for us to buy. This commodification of content means that everything from a tweet to blockbuster film is packaged and sold to us in some form or another. One interesting thing about mass media is how it separates the creators from the audience. The folks who make the news aren't sitting in our living rooms explaining it to us. They're often in a studio somewhere far away or even in a different time zone. So this distance can make the whole experience feel a bit impersonal. Despite this distance, the power of mass media to connect us with events, people, and ideas from all over the world and at any time is pretty remarkable. It's like having a teleportation device that lets us see and hear things happening miles away or years in the past. Now, on to how mass media influences us. It's huge. Think about the last time you saw a commercial and suddenly craved a burger, or when a news headlines made you think differently about a political issues. So that's mass media at work. It has a knack for sneaking into our heads and nudging our thoughts, feeling, and even actions in certain direction. So the impact of mass media isn't just broad, it's deep, especially when it comes to kids. From the shows they watch to the games they play, every interaction shapes their understandings of the world, their values, and their behavior. It's like mass media is another member of the family whispering ideas into their ears. So, studying the effect of mass media can get pretty complex because it touches everything from individual beliefs to the culture at large. A handy way to tackle this beast is to break it down by who's tuning in. Are we looking at how a single person is affected by an Instagram ad, or are we zooming out to see how news coverage influences public opinion at large? So, to bring it all home, let's picture a simple scenario. You're scrolling through your social media feed and you see a post about a new health craze without even realizing it. This post might influence your dining choices for the week or spark conversation with friends. Now, multiply that by every post, video, and article you encounter, and you start to see the massive web of influence mass media weaves into our daily lives. And how they influence in different level. We have first micro level media effect. And what are these? This is also called cognitive or priming. You must have heard about these two terms. Let me tell you about it. So picture your brain as a web of interconnected information, like a really complex subway map. When you come across new stuff in the media, it's like adding new stops or connections to that map. For example, after watching a bunch of cooking shows, you might find yourself spicing up your meals without sticking to a recipe, or suddenly you're combining flavors you wouldn't have thought before. It's like those shows primed your brain to experiment in the kitchen. Then there is this whole deal of beliefs. It's kind of like impossible to check if every single thing we hear or see in the media is true. So a lot of times we just end up believing stuff, especially if it's about places we have never been to or people we have never met. Think about how someone might view a city or a country they have only seen in movies or on the news. So their entire perception could be based on what the media portrayal, or better it could be, or maybe worse. Moving on to the attitude, it's fascinating how a simple message or image can make us feel a certain way about something without us even trying. For instance, a documentary about plastic pollution might suddenly make you know, side eye all the plastic packaging in your home, pushing you toward more sustainable choices. Now, let's talk about the effect or the emotional roller coaster media can put us on. Ever found yourself tearing up during a heartfelt movie scene or getting really worked up over a news report? That's the media hitting you right in the feels, shaping how you feel about certain topics or events. And don't forget the physiological effect. Yes, your body physically reacts to media content. Ever jumped during a scary movie? That's your fight or flight reflex kicking in. Or noticed your heart racing during an intense game stream? That's the media working on your body's wiring. Lastly, there is the impact on behavior. This is all about whether you start doing something new or double down on your current habits because of media influence. Perhaps after watching a documentary on running, you feel inspired to lace up and hit the pavement yourself and you start running. Or maybe seeing your favorite influencer's morning routine make you tweak your own. All these points show us how intervened our lives are with the media we consume. It shapes how we think, feel, and even act in our day-to-day lives, often in ways we might not even realize. It's like the media's the background music to our lives movie, subtly but significantly influencing the script. Then it affects also in macro level media. So when we talk about the media, like TV shows, news, and social media impacts us, it's not just about the immediate wow or kind of different moment. It's more like a slow cooking process that changes how we see the world around us over time. Let's explore this through some familiar concept but with a twist. We'll throw in some real life example to make it all stick. First up, we have all this idea called cultivation. You must have heard about it. So imagine binge watching a series where the main character is always running into ghosts or solving mysteries in their seemingly haunted hometown. If that's your go-to show, night after night, you might start peeking over your shoulder a bit more often when it gets dark, half expecting a ghostly visitor. That's cultivation at work. The more time you spend with these stories, the more you might start thinking, like you might be saying, hey, maybe there's a ghost in my attic too. Well, don't be scared now. It's not about one episode freaking you out. It's about how the constant ghostly drama that you're interested starts to color your view of reality, even just a tiny bit. It applies to everything what you do. Next, let's chat about agenda setting theory. This one is all about how the media acts like the world's most persuasive to-do list. Let's say every news outlet starts covering stories about space debris falling from the sky. Suddenly it's a space junk, this is space junk, that, everywhere you look, right? So even if you have never once thought about space debris before, now it's on your radar. You might find yourself talking about it over dinner. Did you hear about the satellite pieces they found? Like these kind of questions. That's the media setting the agenda, making us think and talk about what they deem important simply because it's everywhere we look. And then we have framing. This one's a bit like putting on a pair of glasses that only lets you see certain colors. For instance, imagine two news channels reporting on the same event. Say a big sports game. One channel talks about the amazing comeback story or focusing on the underdog team's strategy and perseverance. So the other channel might highlight the number of fouls and argue that the game was poorly officiated. Or same game, but depending on which channel you are watching, you're walking away with a completely different vibe. That's framing. The way information is presented can totally change your perspective on what happened. So in the grand scheme of things, whether we are talking about getting spooked by your ghost story, or chatting about the latest important news topic, or feeling swayed by particular take on a sports game, it's all about how media in its many forms nudges our perception and conversation. It's not always about big immediate impact. Sometimes it's a slow simmer of media influence that really shapes how we see the world today. So guys, that was all about mass communication and mass media, and also we have finished our communication unit 4. So in our next session we're gonna jump into straight mathematical aptitude. So that is quite important session that we're gonna talk about. So for now, have a good day and bye bye, take care.